Welcome back to Ask the Handicapper. Phil and I were just saying, we can't believe how quickly the time's gone. We've got 15 minutes for. Loads of you enjoying the show, as always. Nathan says, loving watching Ask the Handicapper. Taz says, great viewing. It's like watching a father and son argue. Yes, behave, son. And Dara says, settle down, Chapman. You try and do the handicapper job for a while. Well, it's not my job to settle down on this show. My job is to try and grill some sense into the man on my left. As indeed one or two of you are agreeing, of course. One or two comments. I mean, JD, Irving on 160 just has to be questionable, doesn't it? Question mark. Let's just get on. Fascinating. Just one or two questions. There was a race yesterday. Scudamore lost his irons. And this question came through on Twitter, which I think is worth. Lindsay says, could the second conceivably be raised more than the winner, given the circumstance of the Taunton race yesterday? Second rider without irons, half a race. Phil, as you can see, Scoo on the rail loses his irons. It's a relatively narrow win for the Twiston horse in the end on the outside. Could you arguably rate the runner-up higher than the winner, or raise him more than the winner for the riding? Or would you say, actually, Scudamore's given the horse every chance, it's made no difference?
Well, I think it would be difficult to say that it hadn't made any difference. I'm sure it's made some difference. Otherwise, you know, jockeys would ride like that all the time, which they clearly wouldn't do. If I was handicapping that race, I'd probably treat them as dead heaters.
You'd sit on the fence with the old dead heat. Champagne Charlie's have been on. In Phil's opinion, when a 4-year-old hurdler's better running in open handicaps against elders, they've got one rated 129. When's it better taking on the elders? Good question.
Not for a couple of months yet. I'd be looking end of March, beginning of April.
Okay. Is that because the age allowance is diminishing?
Yeah, I think it's they've been running in, by and large, uncompetitive races by the very nature of juvenile racing. And I think it's when you see them running in competitive handicaps, it's a whole different issue. You saw a good example a week or 10 days ago with a very inexperienced horse called Blazer that came over from Ireland. Yeah. Strongly fancied. I'd run a less competitive handicap in Ireland, but incredibly convincingly. You put him in the Betfair hurdle at Newbury, and it's a complete culture shock to a young horse.
But equally, we know you tremble with these Irish horses, and the likes of Elliott and Mullins have you absolutely quaking. And Mike says, last year, Irish horses filled 10 of the 16 places in Cheltenham handicap hurdles. They're just too leniently treated.
Well, it's an interesting question, that, because I've probably been doing this programme with you 5 or 6 times now, and each time we'll get a question saying the Irish horses are hard done by, then the next time there'll be the Irish horses are leniently treated. And we get this over and over and over again. We keep statistics on Irish horses at the Cheltenham and Aintree festivals, and their success rate is about 0.3% higher than the UK horses. So I have to say that's utter nonsense.
But although it's against the rules of British and Irish racing, I presume, although I don't absolutely know what the rules are in Ireland, but against British racing to fool the handicapper, do you think, honestly, that the Irish are better at fooling you than the British?
I don't think any of the trainers are brilliant at fooling the handicappers. You've got to remember, we watch every race over and over and over again. You know, I've got a team of handicappers, and they're professional race watchers. Most of them have been doing it either in this job or in previous jobs for years and years and years. So, in terms of fooling us, we just give the horse what we consider to be a fair rating. Which of these horses did they think were thrown in of these Irish horses? You know, I've got no problem with the Irish horses. Their success rate is perfectly acceptable. It's not a problem. And also, you've got to remember, it's all very well so-called stopping a horse from showing its best. If you do that, you won't get a run at Cheltenham or Aintree.
Come on to that in a minute, actually. I suggest, incidentally, if you are watching all these races, you have a look at Irving's 2 last runs again. Ben Cottrell, do you think Smad Place gave his true running in the King George?
Clearly not, because you know his 2 best runs were obviously the Hennessy and the race at Cheltenham. For whatever reason, he didn't perform anything like as well at Campton. it was quite an interesting one, just because I remember talking to the trainer about, should they run in the King George. The Hennessy takes a hell of a lot out of horses. It was only 3 or 4 weeks subsequent to that. I was never confident that he'd be able to replicate his Hennessy run at Kempton. But he's shown himself now to be a 169, absolutely rock solid. The interesting question for people who support Smad Place is, can front runners win the Gold Cup? I've got my doubts.
Cool Dawn, I think, if I remember rightly, was the last front-running Gold Cup winner, Cool Dawn, under Andrew Thornton. What happens if a horse like Splash of Gins wins at Cheltenham, raised £10, but doesn't then qualify for the National? That's a flaw. There's got to be penalties, haven't there? Surely.
Well, the first thing that will happen to him if he wins at the Cheltenham Festival, that means he'll go to the top of his group of horses, of his batch of horses. Right. So that's no bad thing. I think Splash of Ginger is on 141 at the minute. So he'll just go to the top of the 141s. Well, that's a huge benefit. I think there's about 10 horses on the same weight as Splash of Ginge. So to be zoomed to the top of them because you've got subsequently put a good run in, that's a huge advantage. So it's not necessarily the case that he won't get a run in the National if he goes and wins at Cheltenham. He'll be in a good position, I think, there.
There is I think there is anyway, hold on. He's put a horse called What a Night. I'm not sure, I've just looked it up, I couldn't find it. How did What a Night earn an £11 rise for finishing second? Can you find What a Night? I couldn't actually find I haven't got I might be spelling this right. Yeah, What a Night with a K. That will help. Okay. What a Night. Yes, here we go.
3 separate words? 3 separate words?
No, all one word, trained by Harry Fry.
Okay.
It finished second at Doncaster off 129. It's gone up to, I think, 141.
Okay, What a Night.
Oh,
he was second off 129.
Yes, as I said.
And his current rating is 140, so he's gone up 11.
For finishing second, Philip?
Finishing second.
I mean, how harsh is that? These guys who are paying £25,000 a year to keep it in training.
They were 16 lengths clear of the third.
Well, we know that.
And there was a nose between the winner and the second.
Yeah. Of course, Conagry led all the way in the Gold Cup, Phil.
Pretty much, mostly, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not tricky at all.
Well, we'll see.
If your horse is good enough,
so
you can
to
win
go back
anyway.
to What a Night.
Yeah.
Yes, he's gone up £11 for being beaten a nose at Doncaster in a 19-runner race, a really competitive race. They've come 16 lengths clear of the third. He's incredibly lightly raced. What a Night as well. That's what the handicapper decided, and we'll see what happens when the form works out or doesn't work out. Because of course, if the winner, the third and the fourth and the fifth all come out and run disappointingly, he'll get dropped for standing in his box.
Right. Although Irving hasn't. Dan Heap, loads of comments here. Says some very big marks for novices winning very ordinary maiden races. Do you rate the maidens and the novices too high, Phil?
Well, if we do, how do they happen to win so many handicaps when they go into handicaps? So, novices have got a fantastic record running in open handicaps against the older horses. So, if we had them too high, they'd never win those races, and their success rate is good.
What do you think of the modern day trait of jockeys easing up after they've taken a peek at the on-course big screen, says Matt Gray?
It's their decision, and we'll make our own decisions as a result.
Do you treat horses that are eased down harsher than if they were ridden out?
Not harsher, we just make a judgment call, which is obviously our job.
Okay. You should though, really, shouldn't you? Because effectively they're trying to cheat you.
They're not trying to cheat us.
Well, they are.
If a horse is 15 lengths clear, there's no need for the jockey to ride it out to the line. That's their decision.
I think under the rules of racing, you have to ride your horse out to the line.
You don't. You have to achieve the best possible placing, and if they're already going to win, then as long as they keep the thing going and they pass the post first, it's really not a problem. But then it's our job to make a judgment call as to how much we think the horse had in hand.
Lewis Racing, do you treat horses that win on their comeback harsher?
No.
Sure?
No.
Yeah. Will Hoffman, the Hoff, as he likes to be known, I suspect. Ask Phil how much he takes sectional and final times into account when allocating a mark.
Well, the great problem with sectional times is they're so inconsistent in Britain. I think they're much more of use on the flat than they are jumping. It's been great in Champion Series races to have sectional times. I've used them a lot to explain things that I thought were inexplicable. So I do find them really helpful. They're hardly ever used jumping nowadays.
Mm. Diamond King, a lot of comments about that. Final Flight says Diamond King bolts up at Punchestown. Looks like Phil had him right. And Paul says, great show. Will you be asking Phil about Diamond King again? What have you got Diamond King on now?
Right, that's a good question. Diamond King. Where are we looking at in Diamond King? What's he now on to? He's now on 149.
Are you still scared of him?
Well, I wasn't scared of him at the time when you said I was scared of him.
Well, but he won very easily off the mark you gave him.
No, he won in Ireland, not off a mark I gave him.
Right. But the mark you gave him was 130 something, yeah? And he's now rated 140 something, suggesting that the 130 wasn't correct.
We've got him now on 149, and we're more than happy with that.
Mm.
But he hasn't run in England since the 14th of February 2015 at Ascot when he bled.
Paddy says Mark Prescott's been getting away with it for years. Handicappers just don't have a clue what to do with his horses. Are you scared of Mark Prescott?
No.
You are, aren't you? The last thing you want is these Prescott handicappers winning 10 in a row or something. It's your worst nightmare.
We're not scared of anybody.
Well, they are. Of course you are.
We're not scared of anyone.
Of course you are, because every race, all the horses should finish in a line. And there's Prescott just laughing at you. Laughing at you as he gets a horse to win 5 on the trot with distances back to the second and third. And he's just looking at you and saying, I am better than this than you are.
Well, in fairness, if he's got a horse that doesn't run from November of its 2-year-old career till August of its 3-year-old career, there's a fair chance it will have made improvement. And that's just the way training of racehorses.
He'd be your nemesis, wouldn't it?
That's
your
just
worst
the way
nightmare.
training of racehorses is. The chances are it's going to have some improvement, but that would be no different. There's plenty of other trainers who improve horses.
Wasn't there a time quite recently that you were going to try and stop Prescott from doing what he's doing by changing the penalty system so that he couldn't play the system?
We have changed the penalty structure over the years.
So you don't need to change it if you know he's getting the better of you.
We now have a cumulative penalty structure, which we didn't have 15 years ago.
Because he played the system better than you could play.
Well, to try and make it fair for everyone.
Well, no, to stop him.
No, to try and make it fair for everyone.
No, because he was better at it than everyone else.
To try and make it fair for
You didn't
everyone.
like the fact that one person was better than the rest of them.
We thought it was a good idea to try and make it as fair for everyone as possible.
Right, Mike again talking about the Irish. Says first 4 from the 6 in the Martin Pipe, first 6 in the County Hurdle were Irish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got to be well in, haven't they? Surely there should be a UK horse somewhere in the mix. Well, if they're well treated.
But there are other races that you can say, well, where are all the Irish horses in that? Where were the Irish horses in last year's Grand National?
Darren French says, would a horse who prefers a left-handed track, then performs poorly going right-handed, get dropped purely on the chance that it just didn't like going right-handed?
Well, if we know for certain a horse has got a preference for going in one particular way around, we'll put it on our system and it'll be up to the individual handicapper to make that judgment call themselves. Mm. But you'd certainly be cautious if you were confident that it had to go left-handed and it was going right-handed. It
says Intrepid says Diamond King, according to our Racing Post, is 144, not 149. But I'd imagine that would be a Racing Post rating,
correct,
rather than your rating, yeah.
Correct. Our rating, I go back to our ratings are not in the Racing Post for Irish horses, but they're on our system.
Yeah. Don't know if you saw on the telly the other day. We had a shot of Nicky Henderson as Different Gravy was winning. And he looked like a man who'd been stricken down by your bronchitis as the horse strode further and further clear. You've never seen a man look so depressed in victory. Is that because he knew you would clobber him?
Well, do you think we've clobbered him?
I have no idea, so you'd have to tell me.
He was won by 16 lengths. How much do you think we should have put him up?
I would say you put him up between 8 and 10.
We've put him up 11.
You've clobbered him.
With 149 to 160.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
This horse has won 3 on the bounce.
Yeah.
You know, he's shown he's a decent horse. If you win a competitive race like that, you've got to expect some sort of a rise, haven't you? He's going to be on 160 now if they enter him if he runs in the handicapper at the festival.
But again, aren't we getting back to the Kevin Blake here? No one thinks that Different Gravy's a 160 horse, do they?
I definitely do think I think he may be.
But in your inflated ratings, but in the great realms,
I think Different Gravy is
Different Gravy.
Certainly at least a 160 horse, and he would not be disgraced in the World Hurdle.
We're just about at the end of the show, which is a great shame because I've just seen Ryan Gettin's tweet. Now it's up to you, Phil. We can either end the show on time, or you can answer this. JP McManus handicap marks. Discuss.
Which one?
Next time, I think, Phil, probably best to keep us out of court. But enough said. Look, we know, because we established this last time in our conversation with Phil, when it comes to JP McManus, and indeed many others over there in Ireland, he is simply scared. We should just point out before we go, BHA, new initiative coming on board. Just tell us about this very quickly, Phil, because this is important. Because slightly it's like on the line, but essentially, if someone has a question about handicap, not about a horse, not like whether you're rated £7 too much, but whether you think 4-year-olds are badly treated, that kind of stuff, or northern horses are badly treated, what can people do now?
Yep, they can go onto our website and we've got this section called Handicapping Explained, and they can ask us general handicapping questions, philosophical handicapping questions. You're quite right, we don't want why is this horse 157 or not 156, but general philosophical questions, anybody, and we'll do our best to give the answers as long as the questions are sensible.
And a bit like this show, the idea here with the BHA is to raise any preconceptions or concerns anyone might have about the handicapping practices in general. Unfortunately, of course, therefore, the Irving question won't be allowed to come up. They say they'll do best to answer all sensible queries in a certain amount of time, but they also say please be patient, because obviously if you send in a question now to handicapping@britishhorseracing.com, Phil will not answer it in 5 minutes time. But if you've got any general queries about handicapping, the old chestnut, like, you know, are northern horses worse handicapped than southern horses, or better handicapped than southern horses, that kind of thing, 4-year-olds badly handicapped, anything you can think of other than quite simply is Irving badly treated off a mark of 160, BHA would like to get involved, and I would like to feel that it's part to do with the success of this show that's come on board. It allows people to know more about what you are doing. Thanks as ever, you are the chief. You are a good man. Your best bet at Cheltenham is? Don't say you're not allowed to bet. You know what I'm saying. Just be nice to our viewers for once.
I haven't given
the horse you're most looking forward to seeing?
Don Cossack.
Don Cossack? Oh, come on, you know the most exciting horse is Dovan. Right, on that bombshell, we'll go for another break, and it's Race Day Live very shortly.